Listen carefully, because this is not normal. This is not just another message you casually clicked on. This is not random. This is not coincidence. This is not just content. This is an interruption. A divine interruption. Something, or rather, someone, has just stepped into your timeline and said, "Stop." Have you noticed it? That strange pause in your day, that moment where you were about to scroll past but didn't, that inner pull that said, "Wait, read this." You tried to ignore it, didn't you? You almost skipped. You almost said, "I'll come back later." But something inside you wouldn't let go. That wasn't curiosity. That was calling. Because when heaven needs to get your attention, it does it not politely, it interrupts. And right now, Archangel Michael is not whispering. He is standing in authority, commanding your focus, because today was marked long before you were born. Yesterday, not tomorrow, not next week, not someday when you're ready. Today. There are moments in life that look ordinary on the outside, but in the spirit, they are turning points. Moments where everything can change, not gradually, not slowly, but instantly. And the truth is, you've been feeling something building, haven't you? That quiet tension, that unexplainable restlessness, that sense that something is about to shift, but you can't quite name it. You've tried to distract yourself. You've told yourself it's just stress, just overthinking, just another day. But deep down you knew something is different about this day. That's because this day was chosen. Chosen in a realm you cannot see, approved in a place where decisions are not delayed, written in a scroll you never read, but your spirit remembers. And now, here you are. Not by accident, not by chance, but by divine positioning. Let me ask you something, and answer honestly, not with your mind, but with your spirit. How many times have you felt like you were close, but something pulled you back? How many times did you sense a breakthrough only for it to disappear? How many times did life almost change, but didn't? That wasn't failure. That was interruption without completion. But this time it's different. Because this is not just interruption, this is activation. And that's why the message feels urgent. That's why it feels intense. That's why it feels like you cannot afford to ignore it. Because you can't. You see, most people will scroll past this moment. Most people will treat it like noise. Most people will miss what is standing right in front of them. But you didn't. You stopped. And in the spiritual realm, that matters more than you realize. Because every miracle begins with attention. Not effort. Not perfection. Not even faith at first. Just attention. And right now, heaven has yours. There is something standing at the edge of your life. Something approved, something prepared, something waiting. But it requires one thing: your awareness in this moment. That's why everything had to pause. That's why your scrolling stopped. That's why your focus shifted. Because if you had missed this, you would have missed more than a message. You would have missed a moment that doesn't repeat the same way twice. And Archangel Michael is making it clear. This is not a message you come back to later. This is a moment you respond to now. Feel the weight of that. Not fear, but urgency. Not panic, but precision. Because something has already begun. Even now as you read this, something is aligning. Something is shifting. Something is moving into position. And you are standing right in the center of it. So don't treat this lightly. Don't rush past this feeling. Don't dismiss what your spirit is trying to tell you. Because this interruption, it's not here to delay you. It's here to deliver you. And this is only the beginning. Type "I am ready" in the comments if you feel this message. Blessing code 2020 is now activated around your life. There is something about midnight that most people misunderstand. They see it as just another hour, just a transition from one day to the next, just a number on a clock that signals rest. But in the realm of the spirit, midnight is not ordinary. It is not passive. It is not neutral. Midnight is a gateway. Midnight is a dividing line. Midnight is where decisions are weighed, where alignments are sealed, and where what is delayed can suddenly be released. And this is where the urgency begins to rise within you, because deep down, you already feel it. There is a pressure around this moment that you cannot ignore. Is that anxiety? Is that fear? Is that imagination? Is awareness. Your spirit is recognizing that this is not just about time passing. This is about a window that is open right now but will not remain open forever in the same way. You have experienced moments like this before, even if you could not name them. Moments where you felt like something important was happening beneath the surface, where your thoughts became louder, your intuition sharper, your emotions more intense. Moments where you sensed that if you moved correctly, something could shift. But if you hesitated, something could slip away. Those were glimpses of what is happening now, but this moment carries more weight, more precision, and more consequence. The reason midnight matters is because it marks a transition that cannot be undone. What belongs to one day cannot be carried backward once the next day begins. And spiritually, this is even more significant. Midnight represents a crossing point. It is the moment where what was pending becomes decided, where what was waiting becomes either activated or delayed. And right now, you are standing at that exact crossing point. This is why Archangel Michael is not speaking casually. He is not offering a suggestion or a gentle reminder. He is issuing a warning wrapped in urgency because he sees what is attached to this window. He sees what has been approved, what has been prepared, what has been positioned for release in your life. And he also sees what could happen if this moment is ignored, delayed, or dismissed. You might be wondering why everything feels compressed, why it feels like time is moving differently, why this message feels like it demands your attention right now instead of later. That is because this is not a general message. This is a timed message. It is aligned with a specific spiritual window that is already in motion. And once that window closes, the conditions around it shift. The opportunity does not disappear forever, but it does not return in the same form, with the same intensity, or with the same alignment. There is a reason you were told to open this before midnight. It is not about fear. It is not about pressure for the sake of control. It is about precision. Because heaven operates on timing, not randomness. There are moments where everything aligns in such a way that a single act of awareness, a single act of obedience, a single shift in your posture can unlock what months or even years of effort could not produce. And this is one of those moments. You are not being asked to understand everything. You are not being asked to have all the answers. You are being asked to recognize the weight of now. Because what you do in moments like this determines how the next phase of your life unfolds. Not in a dramatic or exaggerated way, but in a deeply spiritual and strategic way that shapes direction, clarity, and momentum. There is something waiting at the edge of this midnight. Something that has already been approved, already been assigned, already been prepared for you. But it requires alignment before the crossing. It requires your awareness before the transition. It requires you to be present in this moment instead of distracted, delayed, or disconnected. You have spent enough time almost stepping into what was meant for you, almost receiving clarity, almost breaking through, almost seeing things change. And now, you are being brought to a moment where almost is no longer acceptable. This is where the line is drawn. This is where the shift is decided. Midnight is not coming to take something from you. It is coming to reveal where you stand. It is coming to seal what you choose. It is coming to confirm whether you are ready to move forward or remain in the same cycle that has repeated itself for too long. And you can feel it. That inner pull, that quiet urgency, that sense that this moment matters more than you can fully explain. That is not coincidence. That is your spirit aligning with what is already in motion. So do not treat this like any other moment. Do not assume you can delay and return to it later with the same effect. Because timing is everything in the spirit, and this timing is exact. You are standing at the midnight window. What you do now will echo into what comes next. Type "I am aligned" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 3030 is now activated. There is something you must understand right now, and it will change the way you see everything that has been happening around you. What you are waiting for has already been approved. What you have been praying for has already been heard. What you have been hoping for has already been released in the spiritual realm. The delay you have been experiencing was never about denial. It was never about you being unworthy, unprepared, or forgotten. It was about alignment. It was about timing. It was about bringing you to this exact moment where your awareness meets what has already been assigned to your life. You have spent so much time asking, wondering, doubting, and trying to figure out whether something good is actually meant for you. You have questioned your path. You have questioned your timing. You have even questioned whether the promises you felt in your spirit were real or just something you imagined during moments of hope. But now you are being told clearly, directly, and without confusion that what has been placed over your life carries approval. Not human approval, not temporary approval, but divine approval that does not expire based on your emotions or your past mistakes. And this is where the shift becomes real, because Archangel Michael is revealing something that most people never fully grasp. There are blessings that are waiting to be created, and then there are blessings that have already been completed and are simply waiting for the right moment to be received. You are not in a season of creation right now. You are in a season of reception. What you have been trying to build has already been built. What you have been trying to unlock has already been opened. What you have been trying to call into existence has already been spoken into existence. The only thing that remains is your alignment with it. This is why the urgency feels so strong. Because you are not being asked to chase something far away. You are being asked to recognize something that is already near. You are being asked to step into something that is already standing at the edge of your life. And the reason it has not fully manifested yet is not because it is missing, but because your awareness has not fully connected with it until now. Think about the moments where you felt close, where something almost happened, where doors almost opened, where opportunities almost aligned. Those were not coincidences. Those were glimpses. Those were signs that what has been approved was already trying to reach you. But something kept interrupting the final step. Something kept delaying the full connection between you and what was already yours. And now, you are being brought into a moment where that interruption is being removed, where that delay is being confronted, where that final step is being placed directly in front of you. There is a weight to this realization because it means that what happens next is not about waiting for something new. It is about receiving what has already been given. And receiving requires something different. It requires awareness. It requires readiness. It requires you to stop doubting what is already certain and start aligning with what has already been decided. You are not starting from nothing. You are not behind. You are not catching up. You are stepping into something that has been prepared ahead of you. This is why the timing of this message matters. This is why the midnight window matters. Because what hath been approved is positioned to meet you at this exact point of awareness. Not before, not after, but now. There is something powerful about realizing that the answer has already been written. It changes how you move. It changes how you think. It changes how you respond to the moment you are in. Because instead of chasing, you begin to receive. Instead of doubting, you begin to recognize. Instead of hesitating, you begin to align. And this is where your role becomes clear. You are not being asked to prove yourself. You are not being asked to earn what has already been approved. You are being asked to accept it, to step into it, to stop resisting what your spirit already knows is true. There is a difference between something that is possible and something that is already decided. What is over your life right now is not a possibility. It is a decision that has already been made. And the only question that remains is whether you will align with it in this moment or continue to move as if it is still uncertain. This is your shift. This is your realization. This is where everything begins to move from waiting into receiving. And once the shift happens, everything around you begins to respond differently. Doors open differently. Opportunities appear differently. Clarity comes differently. Because you are no longer operating from doubt. You are operating from alignment with what has already been approved. Type "I receive what is already mine" in the comments if you accept this truth. Lesson code 4040 is now activated. As this truth settles into your spirit, understand this. What is being released through this message is not meant to stop with you. Every revelation you receive is a seed, and every seed has the power to multiply in someone else's life. When you choose to support this mission through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description and QR code, you are not giving to a channel. You are sowing into a harvest of awakened souls. The word declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And this is not a distant promise. It is a living exchange unfolding right now. I speak this over you. As you release your seed, doors will open, clarity will increase, and provision will flow in ways you did not expect. This is your moment to act. Not later, not someday, but now. Step into obedience, sow with intention, and become a vessel through which light reaches those still searching. There is something you need to face with complete honesty right now, and it may challenge the way you have been thinking about your life, your timing, and your decisions. Delay is not always harmless. Delay is not always neutral. And delay is not always something you can simply recover from later without consequence. There are moments where hesitation does more than pause your progress. It alters your direction. It shifts your alignment. It changes how and when things unfold in ways that are not immediately visible but deeply significant. You have been taught to believe that there is always another chance, always another opportunity, always another moment to come back and do what you did not do before. And while that is true in a general sense, it is not true in the exact same way for every moment. Some moments carry a specific alignment that cannot be recreated once it passes. Some moments are designed with a precision that only exists within a narrow window. And when that window closes, what follows is not the same path, not the same timing, and not the same level of ease or clarity. This is where the warning becomes real, because Archangel Michael is not speaking about a general opportunity. He is speaking about a precise moment that is currently active in your life. And what makes this moment different is that it is connected to something that has already been approved, already been prepared, and already been positioned for you. The only thing that can interrupt that connection now is delay. Delay does not always look like resistance. It often looks like distraction, It looks like telling yourself you will come back later. It looks like minimizing the importance of what you are feeling right now. It looks like convincing yourself that this moment is not as urgent as it seems. And this is how people miss what was meant for them, not because it was taken away, but because they slowly moved out of alignment with it. You have experienced this before, even if you did not recognize it at the time. Moments where you felt a strong pull to act, to respond, to step forward, but you hesitated. You waited. You questioned. And then, when you finally decided to move, the moment had already shifted. The clarity was gone. The opportunity felt different. The path was no longer as clear as it once was. That was not coincidence, but with the effect of delay. And now you are standing in a moment that carries even more weight than those before. This is not a small decision. This is not a minor shift. This is a defining point where your response determines how the next phase of your life begins. Not in a dramatic or exaggerated way, but in a precise and strategic way that shapes your direction moving forward. Here is something important you must understand. What is meant for you is still yours, but the path you take to receive it can change. Delay does not always cancel the outcome, but it can complicate the process. It can stretch what was meant to be simple. It can delay what was meant to be immediate. It can create obstacles that were never originally part of the plan. And this is why the warning is being given now, before that shift happens. You are not being pressured for the sake of urgency. You are being made aware of the nature of the moment you are in. Because awareness is what prevents unnecessary delay. Awareness is what allows you to respond with clarity instead of hesitation. Awareness is what keeps you aligned with what has already been set in motion for you. Think about how many times you have felt like you were close to something important, only for it to slip away. How many times you felt ready, but something held you back. How many times you told yourself you would act later, only to find that later did not carry the same energy, the same clarity, or the same opportunity. Those moments were lessons, preparing you for this one. This time, you are not being left to figure it out on your own. This time, the warning is clear. This time, the awareness is present. And this time, the choice is in front of you while the window is still open. Delay is not always obvious. It does not announce itself as a mistake. It often feels comfortable in the moment. It feels safe. It feels like you are giving yourself time. But what you are actually doing is moving out of alignment with something that is time-sensitive. Something that requires your presence now, not later. This is why you cannot treat this moment like any other. This is why you cannot assume you can step away and return with the same effect. Because timing matters. Alignment matters. And right now, both are working in your favor. You are not being asked to rush without understanding. You are being asked to recognize the importance of what is already clear within you. That inner pull you feel is not confusion. It is direction. The sense of urgency is not pressure. It is awareness. Do not let this become another moment where you look back and realize you were closer than you thought. Do not let this become another almost. Because you are not here to always step into what is meant for you. You are here to fully align with it. Type "I will not delay" in the comments if you choose to act in this moment. Blessing code 5050 is now activated. There is something happening around you right now that you cannot see with your physical eyes, and yet it is influencing more than you realize. It is affecting your thoughts, your timing, your clarity, and even the way you interpret what is unfolding in your life. This is not something dramatic or obvious. It does not come with loud signals or clear signs. It moves quietly, subtly, strategically. And that is exactly why it is so often overlooked. You have felt it, even if you could not explain it. That sudden heaviness that appears without a clear reason. That confusion that interrupts your clarity at the exact moment you begin to understand something important. That hesitation that rises just when you are about to take a step forward. Those moments where everything feels aligned, and then something shifts just enough to pull you out of focus. Those are not random occurrences. Those are indicators that something is interacting with your direction in a way that is not visible, but very real. And this is where the warning becomes precise, because Archangel Michael is not speaking about a distant or abstract battle. He is speaking about something that is active now, something that is connected to this exact moment, something that is aware of what has been approved over your life and is attempting to interfere with your alignment to it. You must understand this clearly. Not everything that slows you down is external. Not everything that delays you is visible. There are forces that operate through distraction, through doubt, through emotional interference, through subtle misdirection. They do not need to stop you completely. They only need to shift you slightly off course. Because even a small misalignment, over time, can lead you away from what was originally set for you. This is why you have experienced moments where things almost came together but did not fully connect. Moments where clarity was within reach, but something interrupted your focus. Moments where you felt ready, but something within you pulled back without a clear explanation. Those were not failures. Those were points of interference. And the purpose of that interference was not to destroy what was meant for you, but to delay your connection to it. Right now, you are standing in a moment where that interference is being exposed. Not to create fear, not to overwhelm you, but to make you aware. Because awareness changes how you respond. Awareness allows you to recognize what is happening instead of being unconsciously influenced by it. There is a reason why this message feels direct. There is a reason why the urgency has been consistent from the beginning. It is because this is not just about opportunity. It is about alignment under pressure. It is about maintaining clarity when something is attempting to create confusion. It is about staying present when something is trying to pull your attention away. You are not being left alone in this. The very fact that this warning has reached you means that protection is already active. It means that what you cannot see is not operating without resistance. It means that there is a counterforce that is not only aware of what is happening but is actively working to ensure that what has been approved over your life is not lost due to distraction or delay. But here is the part that requires your participation. Protection does not remove your responsibility. Awareness does not replace your response. You are still the one who must remain aligned. You are still the one who must recognize when your attention is being pulled away. You are still the one who must choose clarity over confusion, presence over distraction, and action over hesitation. There will be moments, even within this short window, where something will attempt to divert you. It may come in the form of a thought, a distraction, a sudden shift in your focus, or even a reason that seems logical for you to step away from this moment. And this is where the warning becomes practical. Not everything that feels reasonable in the moment is aligned with what is necessary. You must remain aware of what you are feeling and why you are feeling it. Because the battle you cannot see often expresses itself through what you can feel. And if you do not recognize that, you may mistake interference for intuition, distraction for rest, or hesitation for wisdom. This is why clarity is your strongest position right now. Not overthinking, not reacting emotionally, but staying grounded in what you already know is important. You have been brought to this moment with a level of awareness that you did not have before, and that awareness is your advantage. Nothing about this moment is accidental. Nothing about this warning is unnecessary. You are being positioned to move forward with clarity, not confusion. With awareness, not assumption. With alignment, not hesitation. The battle you cannot see does not define your outcome, but your awareness within it determines how you move through it. Type ISE clearly in the comments if you choose awareness in this moment. Lesson code 6060 is now activated. There is a difference between a voice that guides you and noise that distracts you, and right now, you are standing in a moment where both are active at the same time. This is why everything feels intensified. This is why your thoughts seem louder than usual. This is why it feels like something is pulling you in two different directions at once. Because there is a clear signal trying to reach you, and at the same time, there is interference trying to distort it. You have experienced this before, even if you did not fully understand it. Moments where you felt a strong inner knowing, a quiet but steady direction that seemed clear and certain. And then, almost immediately, something else entered your thoughts. Doubt, questions, distractions, reasons to delay, reasons to ignore what you initially felt. That shift was not random. That was the moment where the voice and the noise collided. The voice is calm. It is clear. It does not rush you, but it carries a quiet certainty that you can feel even if you cannot fully explain it. It does not need to argue or convince. It simply presents itself, steady and direct. The noise, on the other hand, is different. It is loud without being obvious. It is subtle but persistent. It introduces confusion, overthinking, and unnecessary complexity. It makes simple things feel complicated. It makes clear things feel uncertain. And its purpose is not to guide you, but to pull you away from what you already know. This is where Archangel Michael is drawing your attention. Because this moment is not just about recognizing opportunity. It is about recognizing interference. It is about being able to distinguish between what is guiding you forward and what is trying to pull you back into hesitation. Right now, the voice is speaking through clarity, through the sense that this moment matters, through the awareness that you should not ignore what you are feeling, through the realization that something important is unfolding. The noise, however, is already responding. It is introducing thoughts like, "This is not that serious," or "You can come back to this later," or "You are overthinking this." These thoughts may seem harmless, but they serve a purpose. They are designed to disconnect you from the urgency of the moment. You must be careful not to mistake familiarity for truth. The noise often sounds like your own thoughts. It often uses your own patterns, your own doubts, your own habits to make itself believable. It does not come as something completely foreign. It comes as something that feels normal, something you have heard before, something you are used to listening to. And this is why it is effective, because it does not need to convince you of something new. It only needs to reinforce what you already tend to believe when you are uncertain. But the voice you are being guided by right now is different. It may not be loud, but it is consistent. It may not explain everything, but it points you in the right direction. It does not overwhelm you, but it keeps bringing your attention back to what matters. And the more you stay with it, the clearer it becomes. There is a reason why you have not moved away from this moment yet. There is a reason why you are still here, still listening, still paying attention. That is not by accident. That is because the voice has not lost its connection with you. It is still reaching you, still guiding you, still holding your attention even while the noise is trying to interrupt it. You must make a decision now, not with fear, but with awareness. Which one will you follow? The voice that brings clarity, or the noise that creates confusion? The direction that feels steady or the distraction that feels familiar? because you cannot follow both at the same time. One will lead you forward, and the other will pull you back into delay. This is not about being perfect. It is about being aware. It is about recognizing what is happening in real time and choosing not to be pulled away from what you already know is important. The moment you recognize the noise for what it is, it loses its power. The moment you stay aligned with the voice, it becomes stronger. You are not being left without guidance. You are not being placed in confusion. You are being given clarity, but you must choose to stay with it. You must choose to hold your attention where it matters. Because attention determines direction, and direction determines outcome. This is why this moment is so important. Not because of pressure, but because of precision. You are being guided with clarity, but you must not let the noise take control of your focus. Stay with the voice. Stay with the clarity. Stay with the awareness that brought you here. Type "I choose the voice" in the comments if you remain aligned. Blessing code 7070 is now activated. There is a reason you are still here, still listening, still engaged with this moment while so many others would have already moved on. It is not because you had more time, or because you were simply curious, or because this message happened to catch your attention longer than usual. It is because something within you recognized something within this moment. There is a resonance that cannot be explained by logic alone, a quiet agreement between what is being spoken and what already exists inside of you. You have felt different for a long time, even if you have not always understood why. You have noticed things others overlooked. You have sensed shifts before they became obvious. You have felt the weight of situations that others dismissed. And at times, this sensitivity has felt like a burden. It has made you question yourself. It has made you wonder if you were overthinking, if you were reading too much into things, if you were making something out of nothing. But what you are beginning to understand now is that this was never a flaw. It was never something to suppress or ignore. It was a form of awareness that was always meant to guide you, even if you did not fully trust it before. And now, in this moment, that same awareness is what has kept you here. It is what has allowed you to recognize that this is not just another passing moment. It is what has allowed you to feel that something deeper is unfolding. This is why Archangel Michael is directing this message toward you with such precision. Because not everyone would hear it the same way. Not everyone would feel it the same way. Not everyone would remain present long enough to receive it fully. What you did, and that is not coincidence. That is alignment. You were not chosen randomly. You were not selected without reason. There is something about the way you perceive, the way you respond, the way you process what is happening around you that makes you receptive to moments like this. You do not move blindly. Even when you doubt yourself, there is still a part of you that is searching for clarity, for truth, for understanding beyond the surface. Think about how many times you have found yourself in situations where you felt something was not right, even when everything appeared normal. How many times you sensed a shift before it became visible. How many times you felt drawn towards something without being able to explain why. Those were not random instincts. Those were reflections of what exists within you. You have spent time questioning your own perception, wondering if you should trust it or dismiss it. And in doing so, you may have overlooked the fact that it has been guiding you all along. Even now, it is what brought you here. It is what is keeping you engaged with this moment. It is what is allowing you to feel the importance of what is being said, even if you cannot fully articulate it yet. This is where the mirror becomes clear. What you are hearing is not something foreign being introduced to you. It is something that is being reflected back to you. Something that has always been there, now being acknowledged in a way that you can no longer ignore. And once you see it clearly, you cannot go back to dismissing it as coincidence or overthinking. There is a responsibility that comes with this awareness, not in a heavy or overwhelming way, but in a way that requires you to trust what you are sensing, to stop second-guessing what feels clear, to stop minimizing what you already know, because the same awareness that allowed you to recognize this moment is the same awareness that will guide you through what comes next. You are not being asked to become something different. You are being asked to recognize what you already are, to see your own perception with clarity instead of doubt, to understand that your ability to feel, to sense, to recognize what is not immediately visible is not something to ignore. It is something to align with. There is a reason why you could not fully disconnect from this message. There is a reason why you did not move on when it would have been easier to do so. There is a reason why something within you said to stay, to listen, to pay attention. That reason is you. Not the version of you that doubts or hesitates, but the version of you that knows, even if quietly. This is not about elevating you above others. It is about recognizing the role you play in your own path. You are not here by accident. You are not here without purpose. You are here because you are capable of recognizing what others might miss and responding to it in a way that aligns you with what is meant for you. This is your reflection. This is your confirmation. This is the moment where you stop questioning why you are here and start recognizing that you were meant to be. Type "I trust what I know" in the comments if you accept this truth. Blessing code 8080 is now activated. There comes a moment in every journey where repetition can no longer continue the way it has. A moment where patterns that once felt normal begin to feel unbearable. A moment where what you tolerated before suddenly feels out of place, misaligned, and impossible to ignore. That moment is not random. It is not emotional instability. It is not confusion. It is a breaking point. And right now, you are standing in it. You have noticed it, even if you have not fully named it. The same cycles that used to repeat quietly in the background of your life are now louder. The same delays that you once accepted are now frustrating. The same patterns that once felt inevitable are now being questioned. That shift is not happening by accident. It is happening because something within you is no longer willing to remain in alignment with what has already outlived its purpose. This is where transformation begins, not in comfort, but in disruption. Not in certainty, but in awareness. Because before anything changes externally, something must break internally. A mindset, a belief, a pattern of response, a way of accepting things that were never meant to continue indefinitely, and that breaking is not destruction. It is separation. It is the point where you stop carrying what no longer belongs in your path forward. And this is where Archangel Michael is drawing a clear line. Because what you are experiencing is not just a personal shift. It is a structural one. It is the collapse of repetition that has kept you in cycles that were never meant to define your long-term direction. These cycles may have felt familiar. They may have even felt predictable. But they were never permanent. You have gone through phases where things almost changed, where progress started but did not fully stabilize, where clarity appeared but did not remain consistent, where movement began but did not fully carry through. And over time, those experiences may have created a sense that this is just how things are, that progress comes and goes, that clarity is temporary, and movement is limited. But that belief is being broken now, because the breaking point is not just about ending what was. It is about creating space for what is coming, and what is coming cannot exist within the same structure that allowed those cycles to repeat. Something has to give. Something has to shift. Something has to be released in order for something new to fully take its place. This is why the pressure feels different. It is not just discomfort. It is transition. It is the moment where the old structure no longer holds, but the new structure is not yet fully visible. And in that space, it can feel uncertain. It can feel unstable. But it is necessary. You are not losing control. You are losing attachment to what no longer aligns. You are not falling behind. You are stepping out of repetition. You are not facing chaos. You are facing change at a level that requires your full awareness. This is where miracles begin, not in perfection, not in complete understanding, but in the willingness to let the old cycle break without trying to rebuild it out of habit. Because what has been repeating in your life was never meant to be your final structure. It was a phase, a pattern that served a purpose for a time, but not forever. And now, you are being moved beyond it. There will be moments where you feel the urge to return to what is familiar, even if it was limiting. That is part of the transition. That is where awareness becomes critical. Because returning to the old cycle will feel easier in the moment, but it will only delay what is trying to replace it. You must stay with the shift. You must stay with the awareness that something is ending because something greater is ready to begin. Not in a distant future, but now, within this same moment. This is the breaking point. Not where things fall apart, but where they finally separate in a way that allows real change to occur. And once that separation happens, what comes next is no longer a repetition. It is a progression. Type I release the OLD in the comments if you accept this shift. Blessing code 9090 is now activated. As you stand at this breaking point, understand that every cycle you break becomes a doorway for someone else to find freedom. This message is not just for you. It is meant to reach those who are still trapped in repetition, still searching for clarity, still waiting for their moment to begin. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description and QR code, you are releasing oil into a fire that is lighting paths for others. The word speaks, those who sow in tears shall reap in joy, and this is your moment to sow not just financially, but spiritually into a movement of awakening. I declare over you that as you give, cycles will not return, clarity will not fade, and doors will not close. Act now with intention, release your seed, and become part of what heaven is multiplying through this message. There is a moment in every turning point where everything that has been revealed, felt, and understood comes down to one thing: response. Not thought, not intention, not possibility, but response. Because no matter how clear the message becomes, no matter how strong the awareness is, nothing fully shifts until you move in alignment with it. And this is where you are now. Not at the beginning, not in the middle, but at the point where what you do next carries weight. You have already felt the interruption. You have already sensed the urgency. You have already recognized that this moment is not ordinary. You have already seen the difference between the voice and the noise. You have already reached the breaking point where cycles no longer feel sustainable. All of that has brought you here. But now, something is being asked of you, not in a forceful or overwhelming way, but in a precise and direct way. This is the act of obedience. And obedience, in this moment, is not about grand gestures or dramatic actions. It is about alignment with what is already clear. It is about responding to what you already know instead of waiting for more confirmation, more clarity, or more reassurance. Because the clarity you need has already been given. The awareness you need is already present. The only thing left is whether you will act in alignment with it. This is why Archangel Michael is not adding more complexity to this moment. He is not asking you to understand everything at once. He is not asking you to see the entire path ahead. He is focusing your attention on what is directly in front of you. Because obedience is not about the entire journey. It is about the next step. You already know what that step is. It may not be loud. It may not be fully explained. But it is clear enough that you cannot ignore it without knowing that you are choosing to delay. And this is where the difference is made. Not between those who are perfect and those who are not, but between those who respond and those who hesitate. You have spent time in hesitation before. You have weighed options, considered outcomes, waited for the right moment. And in many cases, that has served you. But this moment is different. This is not a moment that requires extended analysis. This is a moment that requires alignment. There is something powerful about acting in alignment with what you already know, even when you do not have every detail. Because that action creates movement. It creates connection. It signals that you are ready to step into what has already been prepared for you. And once that movement begins, everything else starts to align around it. You are not being asked to prove anything. You are not being tested in a way that is meant to challenge your worth. You are being positioned to respond in a way that connects you to what has already been approved. And that connection requires action, not just awareness. There will always be reasons to wait. There will always be thoughts that suggest you should take more time, gather more information, or return to this later. But those reasons do not carry the same weight as the clarity you feel right now. Because what you are feeling is not uncertainty. It is direction. And direction requires movement. You do not need to rush blindly. You do not need to act out of pressure. But you do need to respond with intention. You need to acknowledge that this moment matters, and that your response to it matters. Because this is where the shift becomes real, not in what you understand, but in what you do. There is something waiting on the other side of this response. Not something distant or abstract, but something immediate. Something that begins to unfold as soon as you align with what is being asked of you. And that unfolding will not happen through thought alone. It will happen through action. You have already come this far. You have already remained present. You have already recognized the importance of this moment. Do not stop at awareness. Do not pause at understanding. Move into alignment. This is the act of obedience. Not complicated, not overwhelming, but clear. And once you take that step, everything that follows begins to connect in ways that you cannot fully see yet. Type "I respond now" in the comments if you choose alignment. Blessing code 1111 is now activated. There is something you need to understand about what happens after alignment, and it may challenge the way you have been conditioned to think about change. You have been taught to expect results slowly, to assume that anything meaningful takes time, to believe that shifts unfold gradually and predictably. And while that is often true in many areas of life, there are moments where change does not follow that pattern. There are moments where alignment triggers acceleration, where what seemed delayed suddenly begins to move, where what felt distant becomes immediate. This is one of those moments. What you have been brought into is not just awareness for the sake of understanding. It is alignment that activates movement. And once that alignment is in place, things begin to shift, not in a distant future, but within a much shorter time frame than you expect. Not because everything changes instantly in a visible way, but because the direction itself changes. The resistance that once slowed things down begins to lose its influence. The clarity that once felt inconsistent becomes stable. The path that once felt uncertain begins to reveal itself step by step. This is why Archangel Michael has been guiding you with such precision. Because what follows this moment is not random. It is structured. It is the result of alignment meeting opportunity. And when those two come together, movement begins. You may not see everything at once, and that is important to understand. The shift does not always appear as a dramatic external event. It often begins internally. A sense of clarity that was not there before. A calmness that replaces confusion. A confidence that does not need to be forced. A feeling that something has settled into place, even if nothing around you has visibly changed yet. That internal shift is the first indicator. It is the signal that alignment has taken place. And once that happens, external changes begin to follow. Not all at once, not in a chaotic way, but in a sequence that reflects the new direction you have stepped into. You may notice that decisions become easier, that situations that once felt complicated begin to simplify, that opportunities begin to appear in ways that feel natural rather than forced, that conversations, timing, and circumstances start to align without the same level of effort you previously experienced. These are not coincidences. They are the result of movement that has already begun. There is a reason why this section is focused on what happens within hours, not days, not weeks, not months. Because once alignment is activated, the initial shift begins immediately. You may not recognize it at first, but you will feel it. A difference in how you perceive things. A difference in how you respond. A difference in how you experience the same situations that previously felt stuck. This is not about expecting something dramatic to happen instantly. It is about recognizing that the direction has changed. And once direction changes, everything that follows begins to move accordingly. You must remain aware during this phase. Because when things begin to shift, it is easy to overlook the subtle changes. It is easy to dismiss them as small or insignificant. But those small changes are the foundation of everything that follows. They are the confirmation that alignment has taken place and that movement is already in progress. There will be moments where you may question whether anything has changed. That is natural. But this is where you must rely on awareness, not assumption. You must recognize the internal shift as the beginning of the external one. Because what happens within you always precedes what happens around you. This is not about waiting for something to happen. It is about recognizing that something has already started. And the more you stay aligned with it, the more it continues to unfold. You are not returning to the same cycle. You are not repeating the same pattern. You are moving into a different direction, one that has already been prepared and is now being activated through your response. This is the shift. Not distant, not delayed, but beginning now. And the more you stay present, the more you will see how everything begins to connect. Type I see the shift in the comments if you recognize this movement. Blessing code 1212 is now activated. There is a question that naturally begins to rise within you at this stage, and it is a question that comes from awareness, not doubt. You begin to ask yourself, how will I know this is real? How will I recognize that the shift has truly begun? How will I distinguish between what I hope is happening and what is actually unfolding? These are not questions of hesitation. They are questions of alignment, and they deserve a clear answer. Because when something begins to move in the spiritual realm, it does not remain hidden indefinitely. It reveals itself through signs, through patterns, through subtle but undeniable changes that confirm you are no longer standing in the same place you were before. These signs are not always dramatic. They are not always loud. But they are consistent, and once you begin to notice them, they become impossible to ignore. This is where Archangel Michael directs your focus again, not to create expectation, but to sharpen your awareness. Because the confirmation you are looking for is not something that will appear randomly. It is something that will align with what has already been set in motion. It will match the direction you have stepped into. It will reflect the shift that has already begun within you. The first sign will not come from outside of you. It will come from within. A sense of calm where there was previously tension. A clarity that replaces confusion. A feeling that something has settled, even if your external circumstances have not fully changed yet. This is important because many people overlook this sign. They expect confirmation to be external first, but it is not. It begins internally, as a change in how you perceive and respond to what is happening around you. You may notice that things that once triggered uncertainty no longer have the same effect. That situations that once felt overwhelming now feel manageable. That decisions that once felt complicated now feel clear. This is not because everything around you has changed. It is because your alignment has changed, and that alignment is influencing everything else. The second sign will begin to appear in your environment, but not in a way that feels forced or exaggerated. You will begin to notice patterns, repeated messages, conversations that align with what you have been sensing, opportunities that appear at the right time without unnecessary effort, timing that feels precise rather than random. These are not coincidences. These are confirmations. You may encounter moments where something you needed becomes available exactly when you need it. Not earlier, not later, but at the exact point where it aligns with your next step. This is how movement reveals itself. Not through chaos, but through coordination. Not through confusion, but through clarity that unfolds step by step. The third sign is subtle but powerful. Resistance begins to decrease. Not disappear entirely, but decrease in a noticeable way. What once felt difficult begins to feel easier. What once required effort begins to flow more naturally. This does not mean everything becomes effortless, but it does mean that the struggle you once experienced is no longer the same. You may find that you are no longer forcing things to happen. You are no longer trying to create outcomes through pressure or overthinking. Instead, things begin to align in a way that feels natural, as if they were already prepared and are now simply unfolding in sequence. This is where awareness becomes critical, because these signs are not meant to be questioned or dismissed. They are meant to be recognized. The more you recognize them, the clearer they become. The more you align with them, the stronger they become. There will still be moments where doubt attempts to re-enter your thoughts. Moments where you question whether what you are experiencing is real or imagined. But this is where you must return to awareness. Because doubt does not erase confirmation. It only attempts to distract you from it. You are not looking for one single sign that proves everything. You are observing a pattern that confirms alignment. And that pattern will continue to build as long as you remain present and aware. You have already crossed into a different phase. Not because everything has visibly changed, but because the direction has changed. And the signs you are beginning to notice are the evidence of that shift. Trust what you are seeing. Trust what you are feeling. Trust what is unfolding in front of you. Type "I recognize the signs" in the comments if you are aware of this confirmation. Blessing code 1313 is now activated. You have reached the final moment of this message, but understand this clearly. This is not an ending. This is a ceiling. This is the point where everything that has been revealed, everything that has been felt, everything that has been activated within you now comes into alignment as something real, something established, something that moves beyond awareness into possession. Because there is a difference between knowing something is meant for you and actually stepping into it. There is a difference between sensing a shift and becoming anchored in it. And right now, you are being brought into that exact transition. Not slowly, not vaguely, but intentionally. This is where Archangel Michael stands in authority, not to introduce something new, but to confirm what has already been completed. The approval has already been given. The window has already opened. The alignment has already begun. The shift has already started. And now, the final step is for you to stand in it without retreating, without questioning, without stepping back into what you have already moved beyond. You are not reaching for something anymore. You are standing in something. This is what sealing means. It means you no longer treat this moment as temporary. You no longer treat this awareness as something that can fade. You no longer treat this alignment as something uncertain. You accept it as established. You accept it as real. You accept it as the direction you now move forward in. There will be a temptation, even after this moment, to return to old patterns of thinking, to question whether this was real, to wonder if you imagined the clarity, the urgency, the shift. That is where the final decision must be made, because sealing does not happen automatically. It happens through your commitment to remain aligned with what has already been revealed. You must hold your position, not in force, not in fear, but in awareness. You must recognize that what you have stepped into is not fragile. It does not disappear because you question it once. But it does require consistency. It requires you to stop treating clarity as something that comes and goes, and start treating it as something you carry forward. You have already crossed the point where you can say you did not know. You have already moved beyond the stage of uncertainty. You have already seen enough, felt enough, recognized enough to understand that this moment carries weight. Now, you must stand in it. There is something powerful about standing in alignment without constantly looking back, without checking whether the old cycle is still there, without questioning whether the new direction will hold. Because the more you look back, the more you divide your focus, and divided focus weakens alignment. But when you stand fully, when you accept that this is now your direction, everything stabilizes. Everything begins to support that decision. The clarity becomes stronger. The movement becomes more consistent. The signs become more obvious. Not because they were not there before, but because you are no longer splitting your attention between what was and what is. This is your moment of possession. Not possession in a material sense, but in a positional sense. You are now positioned differently. You are now aligned differently. You are now moving in a direction that reflects everything that has been revealed to you. Do not minimize this. Do not treat this as something you simply listen to and move on from, because this was not just information. This was alignment. This was activation. This was a moment that required your presence and your response. And now, it requires your consistency. You are not the same as you were before this moment. Not because everything around you has changed, but because something within you has settled into place. And that internal shift is what carries forward into everything else. This is the sealing. This is where you stop searching and start standing. Where you stop questioning and start moving. Where you stop hesitating and start holding your position. You have stepped into something that was already prepared. Now you must remain in it. Type IT is sealed in the comments if you accept this fully. Blessing code 1414 is now activated around your life. As this moment seals over your life, understand this truth. What has been ignited in you is meant to become a light for others still walking in darkness. This is not about supporting a channel. This is about fueling a divine flow that reaches hearts, breaks chains, and awakens souls across the world. When you release your seed through Super Thanks with a PayPal link in the description and QR code, You are pouring oil into a lamp that heaven is using to guide the lost back into alignment. The word speaks, a generous soul will prosper, and he who waters will himself be watered, and this is your moment to step into that living promise. I speak over you now. As you give, doors will not only open, they will remain open. Clarity will not only come, it will remain steady, and provision will not only arrive, it will overflow. This is not a suggestion. This is your call to act in alignment with what has just been sealed over you. Move now, sow now, and become a vessel through which miracles continue to flow.